Wow. So it is Saturday morning, the 8th of July, and I am, I'm going to be speaking at this church, the Brick Chapel, next Sunday, the 16th of July. And there's so much that I want to say. And, I've been working on a talk in the Presbyterian denomination. They call it a sermon. I like to call it a message or a talk, because sermon has a lot of negative baggage with it. The word sermon, I'm gonna preach at you. I'm gonna tell you what to do. That's not my thing. But the Brick Chapel is not this time of year, but most of the year I can see this church from my backyard. And my backyard is that way. And this is a church that was started by farmers. The land for the church was given by the farm next door, behind the church. And the roadies who live there, they have a really large extended family. And pretty much this is the church they come to in the summer. So basically from July to August, there are Sunday services here. And it's in the Presbyterian tradition, which, if you're not familiar with Protestant denominations, the Presbyterians came out of Scotland, and they have presbyterios, or presbytubius, whatever the word is in Greek, basically means elder. And so their form of government is they have a minister, they have a board of elders, and then they have a board of deacons. It's very, very similar to the way the United States government is set up, with a president, Senate, and House. So there are checks and balances. Here's the deal. All of the mainline Protestant denominations are losing members at a pretty exponential rate. And the people that come to this church are pretty much the people that have come to this church all their lives. And there may be a dozen elderly elders who come to this church. If you've been following my channel, I'm all about starting a farm church and integrating a more universal spirituality that certainly includes Christianity. That's my background. I'm not going to ever deny Christianity. I think it's a beautiful religion, and I believe that Christ's message was that God is love. God is not an angry old king sitting on a throne wanting to punish his recalcitrant children. We've moved on from there. But I want to I've been writing this thing out, and when I read out a sermon, I usually end up not using it, because in the flow of presenting it, the thoughts change and the order changes, and it just screws me up, and I'm usually much better just talking, which I think is good. The tradition in the Presbyterian church, and my sister is a Presbyterian minister, so I know this tradition really well, is to write out the sermon. Ministers are very careful what they say from the podium, and they write it out. And I'm fine with that. It just doesn't work for the way my brain is wired. When I turn on this camera, thoughts seem to flow. So next week, I want to talk to this congregation, and I want to invite them to join me on my mission in however it works for them. Because I can't do what I'm doing without somebody's help. I am stressed. I am pretty well maxed out in what I can do on a daily basis. But I've been talking to people all around. I've made friends with a bunch of the neighbors of the church, people who live next door to the church, but they don't come. And it's not because they don't like the people here. They're just not Presbyterians. They're all spiritual people. everybody I talk to says, oh, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I'm not going to go to a church, you know? And one nice thing about this church is that these huge maple trees are far enough back from the building so that, unlike the Church of the Good Shepherd down the road with the tree in the roof, chances are if a huge limb falls, it's not going to destroy the church. Plus the church is brick, which is a good idea. So what I want to say to this congregation is that we live in times of massive, rapid change. But there are a few constants. People need food, and more people are distrusting the industrial agriculture processed food system. They want food grown naturally, organically, regeneratively, humanely. They want animals that aren't mistreated. And that's one constant. People actually want food and they need food. They have to have food. The second constant is that people are more and more isolated from each other because of these cell phones. Like, this is a great thing, this cell phone. It's wonderful. And people are more and more isolated. But the thing is, authentic human connection with people who aren't going to judge you and make you wrong for not believing exactly the way they believe. That's the kind of church I want to create. I want to create a church that is tolerant, that is diverse, that has something for people young and old. And I believe that I'm the guy to do that because I have a whole career as a storyteller for kids. Like, I can handle kids. I like kids. I love kids. The third thing that I want to talk about, 3 points. One, people need good food. They're craving healthy food, clean food, toxin-free food. They want to support local farmers. They don't know how to meet local farmers. And not all local farmers are actually growing food the way these people want, okay? And secondly, we are craving connection. We are craving community, particularly after the pandemic. And three, the third point is that more and more people, not just because of the pandemic, but there's a revolution going on of people who are homesteading, who are trying to grow their own food. And those people also tend to be more spiritual but not religious, although there are some serious evangelical Christians in that movement as well. My thought is that I want to create something that breaks the mold. I want to create something that's accessible to regular people who are a little leery of rituals, traditions, who are bored to tears by old hymns, for example, musically speaking. I have music. I have stories from all cultures all over the world. And my roots are here in this tradition. So I think I could be the guy to bring this church out into a new form where we steward the building, we take care of the building, but we begin to fill it with people who might not normally come to a church. That's what I'm trying to say. This week, the Sunday message is, there is a method to my madness. Like, I have been called. Every time I go out in the backyard and look at this church, I go, you know, there's a church there. And we could broadcast our Sunday message from there. And the other thought, as far as breaking the mold, is that there would be something on a Saturday night because there's nothing to do up here in the North Country on a Saturday night. And like, daylight hours are precious to me. I would rather do church on a Saturday night than on a Sunday morning, so that I can work on Sunday morning on the farm, right? But the other piece, if we had a church that was a farm church, a community of people who are like, yeah, we're farmers, and that's one part of our community, and the other part of our community is people who eat food, right? People who value food raised by local farmers, people who are not keen on buying their meat in a plastic package from the grocery store, who are willing to go, yeah, okay, it may cost a little more to buy this food directly from the farmer, so that the farmer can actually make a profit, right? A lot of the farmers around here have been beaten down on price. And the people around here don't really necessarily value the food price-wise. But people will come from all around. That movie with what's his face, Build It, They Will Come. There's some truth to that. You have to build it. But they're not just going to come. You have to build it, and then you have to invite people. You have to build it and then invite people to come. But there has to be a consensus and a vision that is big enough, a big enough tent to include people who might not normally show up at a church, and certainly not on Sunday morning. So my suggestion is that one Saturday a month, maybe the second Saturday, we have a potluck supper where we bring the food we raised and we share it. And then I do a program, a spiritual but not religious program with music, my music, right? I have so many songs that are spiritual but not religious. Every time I've ever tried to break into the Christian market, the contemporary Christian music scene, the message I've always gotten back is, oh, it's not Christian enough. Like, who decides that, right? I want music that pulls people in, that doesn't throw a bunch of jargon out, that turns people off or close people's ears or minds. And my music, a lot of it is designed to be sung with other people. The melodies are hooks. They're catchy. They're not complicated. And yet they are designed to get stuck in your head and stay with you for the week. So that's the big thing. I've got to do my music, and I've got to do my ministry, and I've got to integrate the farming thing with that. But the thing is, those aren't three separate things. It's kind of like the Trinity: Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Those three things are the same thing for me. And if I could do it here, in this church, with these people as my mentors, my elders, so that I can start bringing people in, but it has to be something that I can feel good about. And this is no knock against Presbyterian traditional services, but it's a service that was built and designed basically in the 1700s and 1800s. It's not current. And the evangelicals are bringing people out in droves because they have great music. They have great music, and they have really good sound systems, and they have the latest technological ability to communicate their message to a worldwide audience through social media. That's a fact. And I think we could actually bring people in from all over for this experience. And a mosquito biting my hand. Sorry, God. Some of your creations, they land on my hand, they're going back to you. Okay? I sent that mosquito back to God. So that's it. That's the Sunday message. Holy crap. But I just needed to be able to say this out loud. I was up all night just running this through my head. What stories do I leave in? What stories do I leave out? How do I make this message as succinct and clear as possible? And that's what I came up with. And I'm still drinking my coffee, and I got to go get my dad up because it's morning. And then I got to help Corey with the cows, and I think it's a beautiful church. And there's something magical about a place of worship. When Moses saw the burning bush and a voice came out of the burning bush, basically the voice said, "Take off your shoes, Moses, for you are on holy ground. You are standing on holy ground." And a church like this has the energy of generations of people who have treated it as sacred ground. I believe all ground is sacred, but there are places where we have focused our intention, our thoughts, our prayers, our hopes, our hearts. And these places are vital to our health as human beings. We need this. We need community. We need a shared vision and a shared faith, but the vision has to be bigger. It has to be more inclusive. It has to be fun. It has to be filled with joy and laughter. And it has to be loving and accepting. And we all need practice with that, and we all need to help each other with that. So this week's Sunday message is, I don't know what your big thing is, but my big thing is coming. This is something that I've been running away from since I was basically in high school and college. I knew I wanted to do something with my music, and my mom was like, "Mark, with your ability to speak and your music, you could be a great minister." And I'm like, I just couldn't be a salesman for one brand of God. After I majored in religion in college and experienced a diverse array of the human spiritual quest, I couldn't just say, yeah, I'll say this is the one. I can't say that it's the only thing. I can't say that Jesus was God's only begotten son and that God couldn't create a son or a daughter in some other place. Right? I couldn't get my intellect around that. Independent investigation of truth should be supported by our spiritual communities. And that's what I want to do here. And I want to minister to these people, and I want to expand this ministry because it matters. How we raise our food matters. How we interact with each other matters. And we are spirits and bodies. And we are waves upon the sea of awareness. And that's, for me, that's all you need. And we need to sing together. Music is a huge, huge part of the Christian tradition, but other traditions as well. Music does something to bring us together. Whew. So that's the Sunday message. Sending out prayers to all of you out there who are actually willing to watch 20 minutes of me talking. I will follow this up with cute animals, and there will be a song. And I ask you all to hold me in your prayers, because next Sunday I'm going to say the same thing to these people. And we'll see if they're open. We'll see if they're like, yeah, we'd like to pursue that. Let's talk more. Or it may be, no, we'd rather just shut this thing down and do what you want, Mark. That's okay too. It's all good. So prayers to those who are in need, prayers to the lonely, prayers to the sick, prayers to those who are in the process of healing, prayers of gratitude and gratefulness for summer weather, prayers for air conditioning, and thanks for air conditioning. And I'm just going to walk out here and stand in front of the sign. There will be a song. I'm not sure which song yet, but I'll figure that out later today. And so I'm just asking, I'm asking for help to take this place is somewhere new, somewhere that is in alignment with the people that created this, as well as the people who have yet to even know about it. Peace, love, grooviness. Amen.
I'm helping Corey and Sarah band some calves. And this one we couldn't find. We walked right by it a dozen times, and Corey had to get his drone up in the air. And then I caught it, but somehow in the process I lost the thing that you put the bands on with. So now I just got to wait for them to come back. Yes. Yes, good boy. And at least she's being still. This is my married couple here. Yeah, get with the program. They're like, oh, this is the guy that gives us food every day. We still don't trust him. You hungry, honey? That's good. I'm gonna start the water first though. Then I'm gonna give you a distraction treat. That's right. And then I'm gonna feed you. And there. She's like, okay, yeah, they finished it up. Oh yeah, look at that. Good, they're hungry. I just adore sheep. I just like being with them. Almost as much as I like being with my my livestock guardian dogs. They're pretty adorable. And they're just so much more manageable size-wise, you know. After tagging and banding some calves today, sheep are so manageable, particularly if you're starting out and you haven't grown up with cows. Sheep, good idea. Hair sheep, not wool sheep though. I'm drenched in sweat, even though it's not as humid today as it had been. And so 2 days ago, I got the sheep access to this new area, but it took me 2 whole days to roll up the rest of the fence that was behind me and to kind of lock them into the other side there. It's just, there's so much to do every day. And there's like these, what I think of as little square chunks of time. Basically, I'm the full-time caretaker of my 96-year-old dad, who is pretty capable, but he's handicapped. And so I kind of build my day around waking him up and giving him breakfast and making sure he's set. And then coming back for lunch between 11 and 12. And then coming back for dinner around 4. And I like that time with my dad is quite precious to me. But in a way, it's kind of like a monastery where you have a certain amount of time. And then you have to come back for prayers, right? Or come back for a meal or whatever. So I started working about 7 this morning, although I was up early in the night at 2 a.m. working on this talk that I'm going to give next week. And so it feels intense, but it also feels right. It feels good. It feels clean and just healthy, good work, the kind of work that we were kind of built for. I don't know if that makes sense, but now my last stop of the day is to check on the dogs and the rams, which are way at the other end of this property, and just to feed them, give them a couple of nice rubs, and then go home and tuck my dad into bed. So there are these chunks of time, and the stuff that has to get done gets done. And so we move forward every day, moving everything forward a little bit, incrementally, and eventually it all gets done. And remember, God's delays are not God's denials. And your and my delays are not our denials either. All right, peace, love, grooviness, over and out. Amen.